Good morning, I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Friday, the 29th of May, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. And now first on the agenda, authorities have expanded the coverage of the manhunt against Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. On Wednesday, May 27, the search took NBI and PNP personnel to Parañaque, Bulacan, and Pampanga. Authorities searched a house in Angeles, Pampanga, reportedly owned by the uncle of Senator Robin Padilla, a known De La Rosa ally. But that yielded negative. Senator Bato was also nowhere to be found in other locations, with authorities even checking the former police chief's ancestral house in Davao del Sur. Meantime, the CIDG has recommended to the Justice Department the filing of charges against Senator Robin Padilla for obstruction of justice, and that is for helping De La Rosa leave the Senate premises on May 14.
By indispensable cooperation, it will not happen without him. Hindi po yun incidental. It's not a mere hitch ride. It is plano, well planned, well coordinated, kasi yung may backup vehicle pa.
Now, a once light-hearted moment during Senate hearings on the flood control scandal has taken a dramatic turn, with Senator Jinggoy Estrada now facing plunder and graft charges over alleged kickbacks tied to controversial infrastructure projects. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos has this report.
8 months ago, during the height of hearings on the flood control scandal, Senator Jinggoy Estrada personally asked contractor Curly Discaya if there was a senator in the supposed list of kickback recipients.
Mr. Discaya, sa dami-dami mong binanggit na pangalan na kongresista, isa lang tanong ko, Senador, meron ba?
Your Honor, wala po.
It fetched this unforgettable line from then Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Rodante Marcoleta.
Sigurado ka, safe ka na.
Of course, Estrada resented the joke and asked that it be stricken off the hearing records. Fast forward to Thursday, May 28, Estrada is at the center of a plunder and graft complaint related to the flood control scandal filed by the Office of the Ombudsman before the Sandigan Bayan. Assistant Ombudsman Nico Clavano personally appeared before the anti-graft court to file the cases. Also named respondents were ex-Public Works Secretary Manuel Bonoan and local engineering officials from the NCR. Ex-DPWH Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral was dropped from the case by the reason of her passing, while former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, DPWH NCR Regional Director Gerard Opulencia, and Bulacan 1st District Engineer Henry Alcantara have also been excluded from the case. That's following their official admission into the Witness Protection Program or WPP. Estrada was dragged into the controversy after former DPWH Engineer Bryce Hernandez accused him of receiving kickbacks from flood control projects which the senator denied. The allegations claim that the respondents conspired to maneuver allocations, rig public bidding processes, and siphon government funds of major national infrastructure budgets. Clavano said the investigation yielded information that 573 million pesos in kickbacks was systematically delivered to Estrada alone.
Our case is built on solid, immovable evidence. These state witnesses have provided comprehensive, cross-corroborated sworn statements that map out the execution of this scheme from its inception down to the logistics of the illicit payouts.
Estrada, Bonoan, and their co-accused are facing detention if the court orders their arrest. Plunder is an unbailable offense, thus state prosecutors have recommended no temporary freedom for Estrada and Bonoan. To preserve the integrity of the proceedings, the Ombudsman has asked the Sandigan Bayan to issue a whole departure order. Recall that as early as February this year, Estrada and Bonoan were already barred from leaving the country. The Justice Department has secured a precautionary whole departure order against them. Estrada and Bonoan have yet to respond to the complaints. But in Tuesday's session, the senator was asked about the looming case against him.
Well, if this is the price that I have to pay for standing on my own principles of what I believe in, basta ang alam ko, sabi ng LGU, wala akong extension, katulad ng sinasabi nila, first Blue Ribbon Hearing Committee, or yung binulgar ni Bryce Hernandez sa House na meron ako insertion. Wala silang record na ako ay may insertion ko.
Clabano, however, said this is not enough for the senator to claim innocence.
The office acknowledges that the LBRMO, Legislative Budget Research and Monitoring Office, has issued a certificate regarding the absence of documented initiation of budget insertions by the respondent. However, this certificate does not capture all stages of the budgetary process, wherein insertions may be made in a layered method.
This is the third time Estrada has been slapped with a plunder charge. He first faced the criminal offense in 2001 when he and his father, former President Joseph Estrada, were accused of conspiring to acquire hidden wealth amounting to 4 billion pesos from wetting operations, kickbacks from tobacco, excise taxes, and stock manipulation. The elder Estrada was found guilty while Jinggoy was acquitted for lack of evidence. And then in 2014, Senator Estrada was charged with plunder and graft over pork barrel scam. He was acquitted though of plunder in 2024, but his graft cases are still pending. Aside from Estrada, Ombudsman Boying Remulla has also announced that charges will soon be filed against Senator Joel Villanueva, also over the flood control scandal. The Ombudsman is also currently investigating former Senate President Chis Escudero. Senator Rodate Marcoleta, meanwhile, has been slapped with his own plunder and indirect bribery complaints for allegedly receiving 75 million pesos in cash gifts during the campaign season.
The Ombudsman is determined to pursue all cases still pending. We have one shot to get these cases right. The Filipino people need to see justice. This office is here to make sure we deliver just that.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Now, in other news, Senator Risa Ontiveros said she is seriously considering running for president in 2028. In an interview with One News's Political Beat, Ontiveros said she has started preparing should she decide to join the race. The senator said the opposition is currently in what she described as a primaries with no clear standard bearer or tandem yet emerging. She added that a unified candidate could be identified by late this year or early next year, likely from among those leading in the surveys.
There are leaders in the opposition, and I would describe it sa ngayon as parang nasa primaries kami. So sabi ko sa mga kasama at mga kaalyado, sige, mag-compete tayo. For one, Lourdes, ako ay seryosong nagko-consider sa possibility, kaya naghahanda sa posibilidad na iyon. And tingin ko, at the end of this year or at the latest first quarter next year, kung sino sa amin ang pinakamataas sa halimbawa mga surveys, magkaisa kaming lahat para dun sa taong yon. Suportahan siya. Kung ako man yon or iba yon. Kasi parang naalala mo ba yung Highlander? There can be only one para may fighting chance.
Risa Bamba o Bam Risa?
Wala pa ang opposition sa ganyang pag-uusap ng mga tandems. Kasi sa ngayon, lahat ay, I won't speak for everyone, I'll just speak for myself. Ako ay seryosong naghahanda at nagko-consider. So, pag umabot na sa unang step na ako or isa pa, iba pa ay maging standard bearer namin, saka papasok yung ganyang usapan ng sino ang
Mahal po yan.
katandem.
Well, the House of Representatives is set to vote next week on its version of the anti-political dynasty bill. But even before final approval, some lawmakers and advocates say the measure still does not go far enough, especially on party-list representation and political families holding multiple positions. Mobile journalist Amy Atienza has this report.
The anti-political dynasty bill is yet to be approved by the House of Representatives on its third and final reading. After a series of hearings and public consultations around the country, the House Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms has already decided to push for a second degree of consanguinity and affinity for the bill. Other conditions of the bill of the lower chamber include the prohibition of two family members running for the same same national or local elective office. But for the part of some lawmakers, this does not fully execute what the purpose of the anti-political dynasty bill really is. Akbayan Party List Representative Dada Kiram Ismula says that there must also be some focus on the party list system, which does not completely restrict family members from holding a national position and a local position simultaneously.
We have the party list congressmen na kasama din dito sa body na ito. So, I disagree on that part dahil yes, nag-file din po kami sa Akbayan Reform Block patungkol sa pag-amenda or pagbabago ng party list reform. It's just that kung ang anti-political dynasty bill natin ay kagaya ng House version na ito, of course, magmamatter ito doon sa party list reform.
As for Caloocan 2nd District Representative Edgar Erice, the Senate version seems much better than of the lower chambers. He noted that the bill will still undergo the bicameral level, which the upper chamber could potentially block.
Palagay ko naman hindi makakapasa ito sa Senado dahil napakalayo ng version ng Senado. Sa Senado, one national, one local per family lang ang i-allow. Dito kahit 10, kahit 15 pwede.
On Thursday morning, May 28, various individuals led by the Partido Lakas ng Masa also staged a mini protest outside the House of Representatives. They call for a much stronger provision for political dynasties, including lesser opportunities for families in the local level. At the same time, they are aiming to push for a people's initiative as an alternative if the bill comes out accepted by both chambers of the country.
Pero ang talagang ultimately na gagawin namin, nagbubuo kami meron ng grupong itinayo para magtulak ng People's Initiative Dynasty at People's Initiative Bill, yung signature bill. May kasama mga pare, may kasama former military generals, kasama yung mass movement, kasama yung bishop.
The House is expected to tackle the final reading of the bill next week before plenary sessions suspend. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
Don't go away. We will be back with more stories right after this break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa. And here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. Health reform advocate Dr. Tony Liachon has filed plunder and malversation complaints against Executive Secretary Ralph Recto and other government officials. This is over the transfer of some 60 billion pesos in PhilHealth funds to the National Treasury. Liachon says PhilHealth reserve funds are trust funds that should be used only for members' benefits. He also claims the transfer violated the Universal Health Care Act. The Supreme Court had earlier ordered the government to return the 60 billion pesos to PhilHealth. And joining us now is health reform advocate Dr. Tony Liachon. Good morning, Dr. Tony, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, and good morning to all your televiewers and listeners. Good morning.
All right, so Dr. Liachon, in December 2025, the government, the Supreme Court, had already ordered the return of 60 billion pesos to PhilHealth. But why is it still important to file these plunder and malversation complaints against the government officials involved?
Because the transfer is actually not complete. But when the Constitution said that it is when the 60 billion transfer is unconstitutional, the government should have paid 60 billion right away from the Treasury to PhilHealth. But instead, the government paid the 60 billion charged to the 2026 budget, and I think it is double jeopardy, and in fact, it could be triple jeopardy because of the lost opportunities when the 60 billion was transferred. So this is the reason that even if the Constitution has already decided, there must be accountability. Why in the first place funds which are earmarked for PhilHealth should be transferred for another reason, and that's technical malversation. And number two, the magnitude of the transfer not only included PhilHealth, but also 107 billion PDIC funds. And this could actually mean not only healthcare crisis, but financial instability, just in case depositors might not be able to sustain during financial crisis.
Dr. Liachon, for the transfer to be complete and legal, where should it have come from, if not from the 2026 budget?
Yes. If you remember, September 20 last year, during the rounds of the president at the Pabeli Hospital, he ordered the transfer of the 60 billion from the Treasury to PhilHealth because of the savings of the DPWH. So the government should not have waited for the December 5 Supreme Court ruling, but rather transfer right away. Now, when the Supreme Court decided on December 5, they had 3 weeks to transfer from Treasury to PhilHealth and not wait for the 2026 budget, because it's not restitution or restoration, but instead we were asked to pay twice instead rather than returning the 60 billion.
Well, Dr. Tony, you filed complaints, not only for technical malversation and graft, but also for plunder. And as we know, plunder here requires proof of ill-gotten wealth amounting to at least 50 million pesos accumulated through a series of overt criminal acts. Why do you think, Doc, that plunder charges are appropriate in this case?
Well, because this is a betrayal of public trust. The 50 billion, which is actually the threshold for plunder, here you want to establish the elements of plunder, which is actually betrayal of public trust. We want to establish conspiracy why there was transfer, and the gross neglect, and also the loss of opportunities for healthcare. So it's not just about the money. It's the betrayal of public trust by a group of individuals which have actually benefited the people. And these are the elements of the plunder. It's not just the money, the 50 million, but the betrayal of public trust, the lost opportunities of the people that would have benefited from the 60 billion.
Pero Doc, if we're talking about ill-gotten wealth no, in relation to plunder, do you believe that the government officials enriched themselves through these excess funds?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily that you should have gotten money. The elements of the plunder, the minimum is just about 50 million. But what I'm saying right now, that there are other elements for the plunder, not necessarily professional enrichment, but the lost opportunities and the betrayal of public trust. And then there are conspirators towards this particular undertaking.
Well, on the part of Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, he has maintained that he merely followed the law in good faith, and he says that he did not personally benefit from the funds. Doc, how would you respond to that defense of the Executive Secretary?
Yeah, that's the defense of the secretary, but he orchestrated the transfer. When he was Secretary of January 2024, he orchestrated the transfer by requesting Emmanuel Ledesma to transfer 89.9 billion in tranches to be given to unprogrammed operations and other infrastructures. So, by law, and as a senator, as a lawmaker, syntax funds are actually earmarked for health, and it cannot be transferred to other endeavors except for PhilHealth. So, if you transfer that for another purpose, that's actually technical malversation. And using the DOF 003-2024 and justifying it through a rider provision in the General Appropriation Act, those two things were shut off by the Supreme Court because you cannot actually supervene two important Republic Act, and that's the syntax law and the universal health care law. And this is the crux of the matter, that you cannot transfer money allocated or earmarked as articulated by the Supreme Court Justice Benjamin Kadiwa.
Now, in your complaint, Doc, you name several high-ranking officials. There's Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, Health Secretary Ted Herbosa, and other cabinet officials. But what specific accountability are you seeking from them?
Well, the main reason why they are involved, the action of widespread involvement. For example, the previous Finance Secretary, now Frederick Go, is the DOF, and then a Secretary, then ex-PhilHealth President Emmanuel Ledesma, and then Edwin Mercado, and then Chodoro Herbosa, Chairman of the Board, and then Roberto Tan, PDIC. We want past, present, and future, those responsible who authorized, approved, or failed to prevent the budgetary releases and fiscal measures that enable the question transfer. And that's the reason why we have to involve everybody. And if you remember, during the crafting of the worst budget in history, the 2025 budget, the economic managers then were Secretary Recto, you have Amena Pangandaman. These were the persons who actually signed it. But after that, those who will actually carry on, and those persons who will fail to prevent or deter or perpetuate an error, they should actually be included so that in the next budget hearing, this would never happen again. And that is the spirit of that particular uh, expanded list of the respondents.
Well, as
So,
a
so
one,
the
go ahead, Doctor.
and therefore this complaint is filed in the interest of completeness, accuracy, accountability, and substantial justice. It is not about personalities, but about ensuring that every official who had a hand in the unlawful diversion of health funds will be held accountable. And this reflects a continuing commitment to transparency, accountability, and integrity in public health governance, ensuring that the misuse of the PhilHealth and the PDIC funds is fully investigated and that all responsible officials are made answerable before the law.
Well, Doctor, as a former independent director of PhilHealth, what impact could the loss of these reserve funds have had on members and healthcare services if they weren't returned?
Yeah. Number one, those patients with coronary artery disease, with heart attack, unpaid claims to hospital, cancer patients, strokes, they could have actually increased the case rates so that the out-of-pocket expenses will be lower. They could have reduced the contribution rates from 5% to 3%, and thus overall reduce the out-of-pocket expenses from 60% right now to about 30%, because we are the worst healthcare system in Asia. Most of the countries in Southeast Asia have universal healthcare. For example, Taiwan, they're not paying anything right now. In Thailand, they're paying only 9% out-of-pocket expenses. And the Philippines right now paying around 60% of the expenses if you were hospitalized.
All right, so Doc, what outcome are you hoping from the Office of the Ombudsman? What do you want Ombudsman Remulla to do next? And what message are you sending as well to government officials handling health funds?
Well, I have high hopes with Ombudsman Boying Remulla because if the Supreme Court sided in the favor of the people, I know in one interview that the Ombudsman has reached a point of self-reckoning. And the behavior of the Ombudsman right now, trying to get big fishes, senators, and even former Speaker Martin Romualdez, speaks of the seriousness of the Ombudsman right now in getting the culprits. Now, this is about health. And the main reason of the change in the behavior of Secretary Remulla in one interview is because of the illness. And I think this self-reckoning related to illness may be the tipping point for us to change our healthcare system from the worst, the sick man in Asia, to one of the best healthcare system. But in order to do that, Ombudsman Remulla should display moral courage, wisdom, justice, and of course, transparency and accountability.
All right, well, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. That was Dr. Tony Liachon. Thank you very much, sir, and good morning.
Good morning.
Do stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. As we know, aside from Senator Jinggoy Estrada, other lawmakers are also facing or being linked to separate complaints and investigations. Ombudsman Boying Remulla said a plunder case against Senator Joel Villanueva is now nearing the filing stage over the flood control scandal. The ombudsman is also currently investigating former Senate President Chis Escudero. Meanwhile, Senator Rodante Marcoleta is facing plunder and indirect bribery complaints over allegations he received 75 million pesos in cash gifts during the campaign season. And now let us get more insights from Dr. Dennis Coronacion. He is the chairman of the USC Department of Political Science. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us again here at the program.
Good morning, Pauline. Good morning to all your subscribers, and thank you for having me.
All right, first of all, sir, how politically significant is this decision from the ombudsman to file plunder and graft charges against Senator Jinggoy Estrada?
Well, it's very significant in the sense that, since plunder charges will be filed against them, we do expect that in the coming days, these three senators that you mentioned will be issued with a warrant of arrest. So that's going to affect the number of the majority senators that will be able to attend the subsequent sessions in the Senate. Right now, numbers are very important for them since, the observation among political analysts is that the difference between the majority bloc and the minority bloc is really very thin. So, since we also know for a fact that Senator Bato de la Rosa has been hiding, so the 13 senators who have formed the majority bloc without Bato de la Rosa is reduced to 12. And then in the coming days, should the arrest be implemented for these three senators that you named, I think their number will be reduced to 8, if I'm not mistaken.
But sir, given the scale of the alleged kickbacks involved in the charges, Senator Jinggoy Estrada is facing, we're talking about over 500 million pesos. Ito na po ba yung big fish na inaantay po natin, na inaantay po ng maraming Pilipino?
Considering na siya ay senador, isang high-level politician or political leader, maaari natin siyang isama sa mga tinatawag na big fish. Pero knowing how our budget is enacted, kulang pa yan kasi ang assumption ng mga Pilipino hindi lamang yung nagtatapos sa mga lawmakers, kundi involved din yung mga nasa executive department.
Pero as we know, sir, Senator Jinggoy Estrada has already faced plunder charges before. And what resulted from that was that he was either acquitted or cleared in all these previous cases. Pero ang tanong dyan po, sir, is how will history shape public perception now when it comes to this latest case of plunder? Will it still affect his credibility as a politician, or have voters become desensitized already to all cases like these?
Over the years, Filipinos have seen politicians who have been charged with plunder cases na rin naman eventually nakakalaya o kaya na-quit ng Sandigan Bayan. I just hope na hindi tayo hindi tayo hindi natin isipin na normal part ng politika natin to. Na ang mga politiko na nakakasuhan ng ganyan ay pwede makalaya. I still hope that we still have this in moral perception na hindi dapat katanggap-tanggap yung mga ganyang klaseng mga politiko na may bahidungis na.
Now, for Senator Jinggoy Estrada, he is questioning the timing of the charges, and he also claims that this is politically motivated kasi parang tina-target daw po yung mga senators from the majority bloc. What do you make of that defense or argument from Senator Estrada?
Well, to a certain extent, I think he has a valid point, considering that some of his allies in the Senate have been filed several charges, different charges. Pero if there's anything common among them, I think yun yung plunder. Even Senator Marcoleta, I think he's the latest among the opposition senators, or rather senators in the majority bloc na may kaso. Dahil nga what we are seeing is a wave of cases being filed against them, mukhang valid yung kanyang point. Ang tawag niyan, no, ng ilan sa mga civil society and even those in the academe, yan daw ay yung tinatawag na lawfare. Meaning to say, ginagamit yung legal processes ng bansa natin upang magipit yung mga hindi kakampi ng gobyerno. We saw this before, like being used against the certain media personalities. For example, yung kay yung sa Rappler, in the case of Maria Ressa, and we also saw this being used against Congresswoman Leila de Lima.
Pero sir, from a political standpoint, do you expect this latest case of Senator Jinggoy Estrada to isolate him, or do you think his allies will still rally around him if the narrative of political persecution gains traction?
Well, I think yung mga allies naman niya will, especially those in the Senate, they have their own problems, But right now, siguro ang stand nila is to rally behind Senator Jinggoy Estrada. But we don't know how long this will last. Pero that's the narrative that they're trying to tell us, that they're being persecuted, that the prosecution, these charges are being used to persecute them because they're clearly against the administration. We just don't know kung talagang kakagatin ito, no? Although in the case of the vice president in the midterm elections, or right before the midterm elections, nag-gain ng traction itong ganitong klaseng narrative. But we just don't know if that's going to happen also in the cases of Senator Estrada and the other senators na may plunder charges.
So sir, how do you see all these cases affecting the dynamics within the Senate? A lot of critics are saying na napakanipis na ng majority kung mabibigyan nga ng arrest warrant itong si Senator Jinggoy Estrada and even other senators potentially facing charges. What will happen to the power dynamics inside the Senate?
Well, this is going to affect a lot the power dynamics inside the Senate, and what we are seeing is an interesting story that's unfolding. Meaning to say, yung majority sila pa rin, headed by Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano, but in the day-to-day affairs of the Senate, especially when votes are needed, mukhang hindi sila hindi sila masusunod, since eventually if they're going to lose a few of their allies, mukhang yung mga decisions that would require the majority, hindi nila ma-achieve yung majority. Because we do anticipate na worst case scenario, they will be reduced to 8 senators only. Pero sila pa rin yung majority. They still have the Senate presidency, pero in terms of voting, kulang pa rin. Kasi yung 11 senators would, since they're solid, they're intact, we do expect them to be intact in the coming weeks. That will not be enough to get the required 13 votes in order to seize power from Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano. Pero sila naman yung mananaig every time a resolution needs to be voted on, or a bill needs the approval of the majority. So pagdating sa mga botohan, sila yung magiging majority. Pero when it comes to the Senate leadership, it will be retained by the majority bloc. So in effect, ang mangyayari, natanggalan ng pangil yung yung majority bloc na sila na defanged. They have the 13 needed to retain the Senate leadership, but they will not have the required majority in voting for resolutions, in passing or rejecting bills and so on and so forth. And ultimately, baka mawala yung ano nila, no? Kasi 9 senators are needed. If the impeachment trial will push through, uh, in the end of the impeachment process, kinakailangan ng 9 senators to acquit the vice president. So by that time, it will take months pa naman, baka wala na yung 9 senators na meron sila ngayon for them to be able to acquit the vice president.
So meaning to say, sir, mukhang mahihirapan na rin po ang majority na maisulong itong proposal to amend the rule allowing senators to vote electronically and remotely. I believe baka talakayin po kasi nila ito on Monday.
Yeah, in terms of in terms of the merits of their argument, mukhang mahirap siyang i-justify kasi it appears that that the reason why they're pursuing this is because this will be convenient or helpful for their political agenda. Yun na nga, parang this is their countermeasure doon sa in-anticipate nila na mababawasan yung kanilang mga kasamahan, makukulong yung mga kasama nila. In terms of numbers, I think they still need the majority. And I don't know if they will have it by the time that they will tackle, the proposed amendment to the Senate rules na dapat magpa-participate online yung mga absent ng mga senators physically.
All right, sir. Now let's talk about Ombudsman Boying Remulla. What do you make of his apparent resolve, in going after high-profile politicians, high-profile senators, especially given that his earlier remarks were, napakahirap na patunayan o makasecure ng plunder convictions, but now we see that he is indeed recommending charges of plunder.
Well, that's good for the Office of the Ombudsman. That means that Ombudsman Remulla is really doing his job. Kaya nga lang there's always this suspicion that the reason why he's very enthusiastic or very eager to prosecute certain political personalities is that it's politically motivated. Sana hindi magtapos to disprove that kind of suspicion. Sana hindi magtapos sa mga members ng majority bloc sa Senado ang mga political personalities na kanyang pinoprosecute. Hopefully maging politically colorblind. Oo, sana pati wala siyang kumbaga wala siyang sinisino regardless of the political affiliation of a lawmaker or a politician, kakasuhan niya pa rin. That's what we hope that the Ombudsman is going to do. Maging colorblind sana siya.
And one thing that Ombudsman Remulla also said is that the Supreme Court's interpretation of plunder may have imposed exaggerated requirements. Pero nakita po nga natin na kahit ganoon, they are still determined to file these particular charges against senators. At sa tingin niyo po ba, sir, could this case potentially redefine how plunder cases are prosecuted moving forward if they become successful in convicting itong mga senador?
I think one of the requirements for a plunder charge to prosper is that the amount that is involved here. I think the minimum amount is 50 million pesos. So that alone, I think that's present in all the in all the senators who have been charged so far ng plunder. Kaya nga lang, as for the other elements that have to be proven in the Sandigan Bayan and eventually sa Supreme Court pag nag-appeal. Siguro kung sakaling hindi solid, hindi airtight yung mga plunder charges filed against the senators, eventually we do expect these charges to be dismissed either by the Sandigan Bayan or by the Supreme Court. Kaya nga we're hoping na sana airtight yung kanyang mga kaso, hindi minadali. Kasi pag minadali, ang iisipin ng publiko, ginawa lamang yan para nga sa tinatawag natin kanina na lawfare. Ito yung mechanism that is pursued by the administration in order to persecute, those lawmakers, those politicians who are going against the administration. So yun, either pulido yung kaso, airtight, that will lead to conviction of these lawmakers, or madidismiss yan at isipin ng mga tao, ginagamit lang yan upang ipakulong yung mga kalaban ng gobyerno.
Ayun na nga, sir, given the Philippines' long history of high-profile corruption cases ending in acquittal, sa tingin niyo po ba may confidence pa rin po ang publika sa ating justice system to hold our politicians, our government officials accountable?
Well, tingin ko meron naman may faith pa naman yung mga Pilipino sa mga institutions natin. Pero tama ka naman in pointing out that we have a long history of high-profile politicians getting an acquittal from our judiciary. Kaya nga, I think it's one of the reasons kung bakit yung kaso laban kay former President Rodrigo Duterte ay imbis na i-file dito sa mga local courts natin, ay i-file sa International Court, yung ICC. So, kumbaga man we Filipinos perceive that we have because of these acquittals, we have become frustrated with our judiciary. Kung hindi naman kasi hindi naman weak yung ating judicial institution, makikita natin siguro that we're going to have parang yung high acquittal rate ng mga high profile politicians. Ay sorry, high conviction rate ng mga
Yes.
ng mga high profile politicians natin.
Pero sir, at the same time, how damaging are these cases politically for the Senate as an institution? They're already facing a lot of criticism because of all the recent events from yung barilan sa Senado, yung mga video presentations alleging charter change. Grabe na po kasi yung tension na kinakaharap ngayon ng Senate bilang isang institusyon.
Considering that these are plunder charges, somehow related to corruption, ano ang isipin, anong imahe ang mabubuo tungkol sa Senado? So if we have 3 or 4 senators who are charged with plunder, isipin ng mga tao that this is an institution that's cuddling thieves. So magmanpuga dito ng mga magnanakaw. Okay na rin naman on one hand, okay rin naman that these lawmakers are being prosecuted. Kahit pa isipin natin na na maaaring may political motivation behind their prosecution. Pero kapag may basis naman, may strong legal basis, may supported by evidence, then it's also good to know na at least our government is doing something to get rid of these lawmakers who are tainted.
All right, we're going to leave that there for now, but thank you very much for sharing your insights with us this morning. That was Dr. Dennis Coronacion, Chairman of the UST Department of Political Science. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. President Bongbong Marcos is set to return home today after his official visit to Japan. He highlighted stronger security and economic ties with Tokyo and reaffirmed the Philippines' stand on the South China Sea. Global journalist Julie Baiza reports.
President Bongbong Marcos focused on the relationship between the Philippines and Japan in terms of security, maritime and defense cooperation, and the promotion of peace during his address before the joint session of the National Diet of Japan. According to the president, both countries choose to uphold international law, promote stability, and advocate for the peaceful settlement of disputes amid tensions in the Indo-Pacific region. This came alongside this mention of the controversial South China Sea issue.
In July of this year, we marked the 10th anniversary of the Arbitral Award on the South China Sea, which embodies the Philippines' determination to resolve disputes through peaceful means and mechanisms that are provided under international law.
He emphasized the commitment of both countries to maritime security and ensuring that seas remain open, secure, and governed by rules, not by force. The Philippines, he said, remains at the forefront of upholding a rules-based maritime order. On defense matters, the agreements signed between the Philippines and Japan were also highlighted.
This partnership finds concrete expression in our deepening defense and security cooperation through frameworks such as the Reciprocal Access Agreement, the Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement, and Japan's Official Security Assistance Program, which supports the Philippines in enhancing its maritime domain awareness and defense capabilities.
This, according to the president, can be seen through cooperation in humanitarian assistance and disaster response during time of crisis, law enforcement collaboration, and efforts to combat transnational crime. On the economy, PBBM also mentioned that Japan stands as the Philippines' leading source of investments.
We see this in our growing multi-sectoral engagement on emerging technologies, including in clean energy, artificial intelligence, and space cooperation, ensuring that innovation serves humanity and supports sustainable and inclusive development.
He added that this relationship continues to grow across various sectors. Earlier, the Malacanang reported that the president secured potential investments worth 56.3 billion pesos following meetings with several Japanese companies. The president is set to return to the country later today. Kapatid Mobile Journal Julie Baiza, We're One News.
And now on to the weather. Tropical storm Doming is now inside the Philippine area of responsibility. It was last spotted 1,345 kilometers east of southeastern Luzon. Doming is less likely to directly affect weather conditions in the country in the next 24 hours. However, the southwesterly wind flow enhanced by Doming may bring heavy rains over the western portions of the country beginning Sunday. And no wind signal is currently hoisted. And tennis star Alex Ayala headlines the Filipino honorees in this year's Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia list. Ayala was named under the entertainment and sports category after boosting interest in tennis among Filipinos and breaking into the WTA Top 50 last year. Forbes also recognized Filipino pop star Zach Tabudlo in the same category. Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia recognizes 300 young entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators across the Asia-Pacific region. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, we are One News. All sides, all the time.